Welcome to Champagne Sunday. I'm Lauren.
Hey, I'm Bonnie.
I'm Beth.
And we're going to talk about life
After divorce.
And living
The best life.
and the life you love.
Yes, living the life you love on that other side.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome.
Today we're asking ourselves, what do we do to stay in the present?
So, how do we stay in the here and now instead of futurizing or reliving the past?
Exactly.
That's a very good question.
And it's a good question because I think when you get divorced, you think about all the past things and could I have done this and should I have done this? My one regret is not going back to school when I had a
you dwell on regrets in the past. Or I spent a good bit of time going through divorce by getting through the divorce by futurizing. I will be able to do this, this, and this. My life will look like this when I finally get here. And now that I am here futurizing, I don't have anything to futurize with. I really love where I am, and I don't really know what I want my future to look like. Yeah. And so that's more. It's scary.
Well, and
to be in the future.
Part of it, two things. I think after divorce, you grieve the loss of. Maybe sometimes the loss of that partner, but you definitely grieve the loss of a family unit, right? I think we can all say that.
Yeah. Or future plans.
Or future plans with a family unit.
Yeah.
And that when you're divorced and single, what Bonnie just said, you're futurizing or trying to decide what your future's going to look like. If you're divorced and have a partner, it's hard not to futurize that in terms of what your marriage used to look like sometimes. Sure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
When it doesn't necessarily have to be any of that.
No, and really, we don't want our futures to look like our marriage is ended.
Exactly.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. My therapist is constantly like, you could die tomorrow.
Nice.
You could die tomorrow, so be happy today.
Well, now, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways, if you find yourself in regret that, Beth, you didn't go back and get your do dental school, or if just any of those regrets that we have, if you find yourself in the past in those regrets, or even futurizing and stressing yourself out, what do you do to ground yourself in the here and now?
Okay, this is going to sound, it's not morbid, but it's kind of how I operate. I have kept a journal for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And what helps me the most is when I read through the journal and it's saying, I would like this and I would like this. And then I realize that all I have to do is be grateful because I'm already at some of those places that I really wanted to be. Mm-hmm. I've already achieved that.
Right. Yeah.
Like my job. Who knew I was going to get this great job, working this great job that I love with great people, and they are very supportive.
Yeah.
At that point when I was writing my journal, I didn't have a job.
Right.
My nursing license was in dust, and so I think looking back and reading my journal to see where I was at a specific time helps me to be grateful for where I am right now. Like some of those goals I've already met, so now I'm on to the next goals.
Well, and I think that we all got divorced at a time in our lives where we had a lot of boxes checked already. Is that true?
That's true. We all had careers
we
at
had
the
our
point
kids.
in time, and we had our kids. I mean, you had already been a nurse. You already knew the nursing. You'd already had a career.
That's
you
true.
didn't have to recreate or start a career from scratch. So I think we were all really fortunate in that we already had a foundation to fall back on.
Yeah.
We'd all gone to college. We all had that education. We all had all of that so that we did have the background to support ourselves, so that when we're now we're all stable in our jobs and in our careers, and to be honest, that's huge in helping us stay grounded because we don't have that worry.
And I think we should be very grateful that we all have that, because a lot of women, some who might be listening, don't have that, and they're working toward that.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going. There for a while, I would do one day at a time.
Yeah.
I felt like I was slogging through, and if I just kept moving forward, even if it felt really slow, that I really wasn't making much headway, if I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and kept doing the daily grind, getting up, going to work, taking care of my kid, coming home, fixing dinner, putting my kid to bed, making sure the homework was done, making sure my stuff was done. Just those little mundane things like laundry or making sure we had food in the house. Just those little, but you're making progress. Every time you do that, you are moving forward.
And when, I don't know, I still do this lately too. When you're a single parent, which we all are, there's just a lot more on your plate than there was before. And it's just true. And I'm busy at work a lot. And so I've kind of had to come to that moment where I'm like, all right, I have to do, part of my staying present is doing whatever the next thing on my to-do list is, and I can't think about 5 things down on the list. Does that make sense? You just do the next thing.
I do that too.
And then also accepting, I'm not a perfectionist in my life, but I have a little bit of that sometimes in my work life, and accepting that, like, there are going to be moments when everything's not going to get 100%. There's going to be moments where my kid gets 100%, and maybe, like, the rehearsal I have that day is probably going to get 80%. You know what I mean? Yeah. And balancing that and being okay with it. That's a human need.
Well,
but that's a part of work.
prioritizing.
Yeah, and that's work-life balance. If you're going to have a balance, you have 100% to give, which means no one thing can get 100%.
Right.
It has to be split.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just normal.
Yeah. Well, I've had to accept, I used to be a huge homemaker person. And I have to accept that these days, the one thing that I really can't have any control over is my house. Because the one thing that always gets left out is my housework. I mean, I keep up with the laundry and the cooking, but like I haven't vacuumed this week. Sorry. I mean, it's just not going to get done. I just prioritize
never gets
things.
done in my house, so.
I mean, I prioritize things, and that's just not that important. It used to be super important that my house was completely clean and everything was put up, and that was kind of my pride because I was a stay-at-home mom for so long. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Now that is the last thing on my list.
So
yeah, that has never been the first on my list.
So when we find ourselves, because we all stay pretty busy, like when you find yourselves alone in your home, alone with yourself, what kind of things do you do to stay present, like to keep active in the moment?
All right, so if I am feeling terrible, like I am looking back or looking forward, or I'm in an uncomfortable place and I find myself alone in my house, I organize something. Which people who know me are going to think that's really strange because I'm an organized person, but my house can tend to live in chaos.
I'm like that too. Yeah.
But if I find myself there, if I organize my drawers, my chest of drawers, or I organize some kitchen cabinets or drawers, if I go in and I kind of have put some space in order that I can go back and look to and know it's in order, somehow that grounds me here. It makes me feel more comfortable in my space, and it gets my mind off of where I was. If that's done, and I mean, of course, I'm always in the studio and painting. If I can always get into a piece of artwork, but not everybody has that kind of passion. So that's just a second. I used to always organize my closet first because my closet was my safe space and get that all put together. And so it was always neat. That's the first place I'll go to when I feel chaotic, is I'll get all of that back in order and all of that. But I found even drawers and all of that will really sort of help bring me some peace in that very presence. I guess it makes me feel like I'm more in control of where I am in my life right then, even though it's not anything big and it's ridiculous, but I can organize a drawer and feel like I have just taken back control of my life.
I'm kind of the opposite, I think, and maybe it's from the years of doing that.
Maybe so, because that's not something that's usually on top of my list.
I had a really bad day the other day, and I thought, I can't sit here and worry about all of this.
Yeah.
I literally got up, I had my shoes on, thank goodness, and just walked straight out my front door. I didn't lock it. I didn't straight out my front door and over to the park, and I walked a little loop, and it broke that little cycle of what was going on in my head, and then I walked home, and then I could tackle it. Yeah. It's like I had to remove myself from the actual
Well, and
where I
we've
was.
talked about that before, about being able to step outside yourself and where you are and look at your life objectively as if you weren't the main character and
Right.
say, okay, what is it I actually have going on? And leaving your house to go walk is a brilliant strategy. So if you feel stuck, just to break it up, leave, and come back so that you can
Well, also
have a different
like
setting.
walking, painting, mowing my yard. Those are all kind of mindless activities for me. And so if I can do that, it kind of separates me from what's bothering me. If I'm starting to live too much in my head.
Yeah.
And so then I can, and it sounds weird because it frees my mind. And this is going to sound, I don't know how this is going to sound, but when I used to do the rosary, just that little rubbing of the beads and doing the decades and stuff, even though you are consciously kind of thinking about what you're saying, your mind drifts and you think of other things. That's how painting, walking, mowing, those kind of things that I've done so many times, I don't have to think about it. My mind can go to a different place and it kind of just clears out all the stuff I was thinking about, past stuff, forward stuff, worry, all that, and then I can be a little more grounded in what I'm doing and be in the present for the next thing that rolls through.
Sometimes I get, sometimes the number of things I have on my plate will make me anxious. Like I'll get worried about it, and I get in this point, and some of this is my ADD, but I'll start to not be able to accomplish things because I start to worry about getting all of it
Yeah,
done.
you're spending too much time like on the stress of worry.
Yeah, like a little bit. And so I don't, like, I'm conscious of it though. So I've been trying to figure out like how to snap myself out of it, and part of that is organization, like you said. Like that's how I make myself present when that starts to be too much. But then the other day, I love people. I love being around people, and there are people constantly in and out of my house. But every once in a while, I reach my limit, and when it happens so fast, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here now. So it happened a couple days ago, and I took myself on a date.
I love that.
I drove to I needed to get a white dress for Dina Blanc, so I drove to Huntsville. I went shopping. I mean, I didn't have like epic money to spend, but I just needed to get a cheap little dress. I went to H&M, and I like got myself lunch, and I just like went away for a second and compartmentalized, and then I was so much better when I got back.
nice.
So that's like my walking. I
Yeah.
just physically removed myself from the atmosphere.
What's hilarious
where I
is
was
I don't
worried.
even like shopping, but no, I think we can get bogged down in like all of we're talking about the active things that we can do. I just think sometimes because we've left a life, we essentially left a life, right?
Well, we left a 2-income life.
Yeah.
I mean, and to be
Yeah.
honest, come on, guys, that really plays a
Well,
part in what it is
but
we
not
can
just
do.
But
not just
A
the two
2-income
income,
life
but
and a
you
way of
also,
doing things.
a
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
a person that you had a routine.
Right.
You
No,
knew
the
what you
way-
were
the
doing
way
and
of
the way
doing
you
things.
did it.
2-income, 2 people tackling. Well, and I guess for
No, I
me
didn't
that
have
doesn't.
2
Yeah,
people.
I mean, we didn't
But I
have people
had
who
another
actually
person
did.
in my house, and
Yeah.
if you have a security of someone to live alone as a woman is a little different than to live alone as a man.
Yeah. I think that's true.
I do too.
I agree with
Well,
that.
and I think that we all people ask me if I enjoy living where we live, and I have to say absolutely. If I scream in my house, my neighbors are right there. Our houses are so close, they're gonna know.
Yeah.
And they're gonna come to my aid. They're
Oh.
gonna know there's something wrong. I just love the
this
closeness.
is an offshoot, but would any of us live in a rural area alone? 'Cause I
No.
would not. You would?
Well, I have a German Shepherd.
Oh.
Oh well,
and a collection of
I did, and
other things.
well, that's the thing we've talked about. The last house, the house I moved out of, the married house that I had, was had 16 entrances and exits. It was all French windows going on the front and all French windows on the back, and I never felt incredibly safe there because when it was just me and the kids, I was there were way too many ways to get in and out of my house. So, and I had dogs, but I don't know. I would rather live. I love this
Yeah.
I
Yes.
like our neighborhood too, and I think people watch. Even, you know,
Yes,
it
they
is
know when
sort of
something's
Gladys
up and
Kravitz,
different.
but
My-
it's like it's nice to that.
I
big
need
about-
Gladys living across the street from me,
listen,
behind me, on either
I
side
have
of me.
all my neighbors. They watch. They know who's at my house. They'll say, "Your son didn't move his car."
Right.
Where is he? I'm like,
Oh,
you know, my
oh.
daughter was in and out. You know, having friends. Sorry.
I know we have an offshoot right now, but the same thing happened to me one time because my son's father was on a walk, and he sent him home because he was having a bad attitude. Well, when I'm home alone, I lock the door, and my ex watched him walk down the street and then went away. My son got to the house and couldn't get in the house because I had locked the door. I was taking a shower and I didn't hear him knock.
Oh no.
So my son went to go find his dad, and he ended up in an alley a block away. And luckily, we have neighbors who know each other. I mean, I'm
Right.
grateful for that kind of neighborhood. But anyway,
It is nice. I feel like this is kind of like a 1970s neighborhood.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, we ran around
Everybody's
all
out
over
all
the
the time.
place, and we stayed out. Well, essentially, our mothers locked us out, and we stayed out all day until dark, and then you knew to go home when it started getting that. You know, if your mother didn't come out and call you. And I feel
But-
like your neighbors watched, and they let you come use the bathroom wherever you were
But
in the neighborhood. You
y'all,
came in and out,
can
and
I-
people knew you.
can I say, part of that neighborly thing that we have, like last night we were at an event, the three of us were at an event, and I remember telling people that it's like we live on a compound. But it is kind of like we live on a compound.
Yeah, we have
we're
like
really
3
close neighbors.
streets of
Yeah,
neighbors, and we
that
have-
are really close.
Yeah.
But also that constant this morning one of my neighbors was like, mimosas? Like what are
Yeah.
we doing? Like that helps me stay present too. Is I don't really part of our little conglomerate here helps me I don't know what my daily's gonna look like any day. So it's
So-
hard to get bogged down in. I mean, it's important to set goals, but sometimes it's hard. I find it that I don't get bogged down so much in future or past because there's constantly something new going on.
Well, and I used to be really big on planning. Like planning is what sort of kept me futurizing.
Yeah.
And not because my then and now, my present, when I was going through divorce, and even prior to the divorce, when things were just terrible, living with an alcoholic, I used my planning time as a way to futurize and sort of bring myself out of the present because the present was uncomfortable. And I've really consciously stopped doing that because I need to feel more present. But you're right, community,
Yeah.
building a community that supports you, that is full of positive people,
Mm-hmm.
and people who accept you for who you are, there's nothing like it. So if you're in a place where you don't have that, do what you can to find it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has been huge for all three of us to have a
It's
community.
Oh,
big
it's everything.
To have a community, to have people that I know. If I call them, they're not going to let me wallow for too long. They're going to
Yeah.
say, hey, look what you did last week, or look what you did, how far you've come, and you're doing a great job. I have one person that if I'm feeling bad, well, actually I have two because you sent me a little thing that says, you're a good mom.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all I need to hear.
Mhm.
Because you get so, I mean, when
Yeah.
you're doing it all by
Yeah.
yourself, you have those moments where you think, oh my gosh, is this the right thing to do? Did I think of every little possible way that this could help my child, scar my child?
Yeah,
What
not
am I
having
doing? And to
somebody-
have
yeah.
somebody validate, you're being a good mom. I have two people that do that for me, and it's one of those things like you don't expect to hear. You want to know how you're doing, but you don't expect to. So if you can have those people that are like your cheerleaders, your encouragers, whatever you want to call them, I think Mr. Rogers was saying look for the helpers.
The helpers, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I
Mhm.
think it's really important to find your people out there that know you and love you, even when you're having a horribly crapola day. They
Mhm.
can say,
Well, and find, yeah.
you know, you're doing a really good job
Mhm.
at your job, even though the job has gotten you down today, you are really doing a good job at it, or you're really, look how far you've come. And so my house hadn't been vacuumed in a week or so. I mean, I keep
think
going
that's
back
okay.
to that. I'm dwelling on the past because I haven't done it. But
Well, but you need different kinds of friends. Having friends that you can talk to about your parenting stuff. So you have people in the same, because we're all at 3 different places in parenting.
Yeah.
So you have people who are in the same place of parenting that you can bounce things off of. Having friends who are also divorced, or who aren't divorced now but who have been through divorce.
Yes.
We've talked about this before and how important it is to find someone who understands that death of a relationship, that agony, that even though it's all supposed to be what it's supposed to be and you're thrilled about it, I mean, not thrilled, but you know what I mean, that it's exactly what you need to move on with your life.
Yeah, it's still not a happy thing.
No, but it's important to have other people who understand that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have people that understand your sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had somebody that sent me that card that said, "Congratulations on your divorce," and you open it up and said, "We hated him anyway." I was like, oh my God. Because I wasn't expecting that. I was like, expecting something else. And then, I have one that I framed. I'm sure I've told y'all about. I had the worst first year after divorce, trying to get things organized, trying to get a job, trying to figure out how to make the numbers work. And I had another friend that sent me one that said last year was a Category 5 shitstorm. And so I have that sitting on my desk just to remind me.
Yeah.
I lived through that, all the bad stuff, the really heavy decisions and all that kind of stuff. And so, I lived through it. And look, I'm on the other side. I can actually laugh. I laugh at myself all the time. I laugh with y'all all the time over, some pretty heavy
pretty
stuff
deep and
that
heavy
we've been
things,
through because we all, and it's kind of a bonding. If you can find a group that has been through it and they really want to get on the other side. I'm not talking about everybody that's gone through it is not a positive person, and they still have a lot of anger, a lot of distrust, a lot of poor pitiful me. I can be with a person like that for about 5 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta go, because it'll drag you back down, and you don't need to be drugged back.
We've already been through we've already been in that terrible place. We don't need to spend any more time there.
That's also not productive, especially when you're co-parenting.
It is not.
That's not the way. Like I never want to present like that in front of my ex or in front of anybody who he may be with. I only want to present
or in front of your child.
Yeah, or in front of your kid.
I mean,
I only want to present positive and productive because otherwise it really isn't productive.
No, it's not.
No,
and
it's not.
You're not setting. I always think, taking a step back and having to view my life as a movie instead of being in the moment of the emotion part of it. If you can take a step back and view it, I always want to show my child you can be kind in any situation. You can be positive in any situation. You can be nice to somebody who has been horrible to you in any situation. If you can model for your child, you don't have to be the shrew ex-wife demanding this or demanding attention, or you don't have to do that. You can model positive behavior, and that's what I'd like to do for my children.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. There's there's too much energy to be the other. It's
I think we all would agree that it is just a whole lot more productive for our lives to sit in a positive place than it is to dwell on anything negative.
Oh. This is a good thing that my therapist told me the other day. She said, because I talked her through just some, at this point, she's my life coach.
Right.
So whatever the most immediate conflict is that's going on, that's what I'll talk to her about. So I went to go talk to her about just some things that have happened recently. And she said, Lauren, your house is Disney World. It is the happiest place on earth. I want you to view it like that. And don't let anything unhappy happen. So if a negative conversation needs to happen, go talk out by the tree in your front yard. But it can't happen in your house. It's Disney World. It's the happiest place on earth. I was like, that makes so much sense. But staying staying positive or looking for the positive each moment
I think you
is
have to
so
look for
important
it too. I think it's
because
important
that
to look for it.
if you start to be negative, that will bog you down
Oh, you'll go
so
down that
much
rabbit hole
out of your
so
and you'll
fast.
waste your present. You'll waste
Yes.
it.
Right.
Now, and I think, but we need our community because I am someone who can Pollyanna myself in any situation to the point of toxicity.
Oh, really?
I can make anything. Well, okay, come on, y'all.
Oh.
Think about my last couple
Oh,
years,
sorry.
and think about how I can turn anything
We're not
into
living
something.
in the past. We're living
I know,
in the
right?
we're
But
living in the future.
having a community is important because we can all
Yes.
live in the positive. But somebody needs to be there to help say, okay, I hear you saying all of this, Pollyanna, but I don't think this is actually how it is, and bring you back to that reality and bring you back to here, and then find the positivity in yourself and all of that. So
Right.
I just have the tendency to look at outside people and outside things and Pollyanna them to a point that's not healthy.
Mhm.
Does that mean turns a positive spin that's not healthy? So, but my community helps me see things the way they are, and I'm not, and it's not negative at all. It just helps ground me back to earth and
Yeah.
where I need to be. And I think that is also an incredibly important part. And then also with our children, if we have spouses who are not incredibly involved in the parenting aspect when we have our kids, right? Or when y'all have your kids, because we all know I'm all on my own. Having a community to talk to about things going on with our kids and decisions we're making with our kids, I think is also huge, because parenting
Yes.
on your own is so hard. And parenting without the benefit of that other person
Oh.
communicating with
Yeah.
you, it makes it exponentially hard. My kids are grown, and I feel the absence of their father, even though he wasn't incredibly involved in their lives the last few years, I still feel his absence. And being able to make decisions or celebrate our kids, I just feel that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but y'all help make up for that.
My closest friends do not have children my age. Like,
Yeah.
y'all's kids are significantly older than mine.
Right.
I don't really, well, even of my other girlfriends, he's the youngest, and so he doesn't hang out with their kids like regularly. You know what I mean? So but my sisters have kids that are closer to his age, and my sister had a conversation with me this morning where she called something to my attention about my son that I didn't really recognize or know, and it didn't hurt my feelings at all. It was so productive. It was so helpful to have that combo. So yeah, no, I agree that sounding boards.
Yes,
Just
sounding
sounding
boards.
Yes.
Sounding boards, because being alone, if you isolate yourself in parenting and you don't
Right.
have your girlfriends to bounce things off of, because Lauren, you've talked
Or
to
guy
us
friends.
about
I have
right,
so
or
many
guy
guy
friends,
friends, too.
any kind of friend.
Yeah.
So Lauren, you've bounced things off of us because we've had kids who
Yeah.
are your kids'
Right.
age.
Right.
Yeah, you've done it
You know
already.
what I mean? And it just, but it just, to me, it's very necessary in my life to have this community of people that I can go to.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really important. And I think it's kind of good, my child was the same age as your child when our divorce went down.
Oh yeah.
So
I
I've
forget
already
that.
done
Your
all
younger
those
child?
my younger child. So, been there, done that. Have the t-shirt, and it was.
I think too, okay, Jessica, I know we've sort of
Right.
been circular mainly about being present and how much community is important in that. That
Yes.
seems to be what we've gotten
Yeah,
to.
I agree.
Just not to isolate yourself. It really does help you stay in the moment where you are. Meeting yourself where you are. Is
Right.
that a
Yes.
good way to
That's a
say
I
it?
like
That's
that.
a
How
good
how
way
do
to
we
say
meet
it.
ourselves where we are?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I think it's different to set goals than it is to try to fling yourself into a future that you plan out. Does that make sense? Or
Well, it
that you
does,
assume?
yeah. Well, I mean, you set goals. I would really love. I think setting goals is important, or you stay stagnant.
Mhm.
But I don't necessarily. It's not the same as daydreaming about a future that may never happen.
Right.
That's futurizing.
Yeah.
Setting goals is I want to be here. Backing it up, what are my steps to get there? Now, what can I do today that helps me inch towards that goal? I
Yeah.
think that's
I
different.
think that needs to be I think we need to talk about that.
I think that's
for our
great.
next
Look at
podcast.
us coming up with another future
I
podcast.
know.
Yay.
I just think it's a slippery slope when you start to think in the past
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And I think if you can stop yourself and say, but now, this is where I am, this is where I'm headed, and that goes to goals, because it's not really futurizing, it's setting a standard for yourself. I will never go back to being like that. I will never do that. Now, I can say I will never cry every night over something that's broken that I now know that I could not have fixed if I gave it
Or prevented.
1,000% of my
Yes.
attention. I mean, it was not my problem to fix. But
Or
I spent
prevent.
yes.
Mine
but
is big. I couldn't
spent
have
a
prevented
lot
it.
of time thinking, could I have done this? Could I have done this? Maybe if I'd said this. No. Now my thing is I have recognized that is the past. I've recognized my part in it. But from this point forward, I am just doing steps forward. They might be baby steps, they might be giant steps, but I'm going to keep myself going forward and keep myself in the present and trying to meet these goals for my life and making sure that I am holding myself accountable for my actions and nobody else. Like, I can't blame him for where I am now.
Right.
Because I have been divorced X amount of times.
Yeah.
So now all my actions are my own and I take the consequences, good or bad. And I'm just going to keep going forward. I can't be in the past and I can't look too far in the future, but I can keep myself grounded and knowing where I am. And that's where y'all come in. My community comes in.
And I think,
communication is a huge
it's
part of that.
everything. I think also because there is a significant amount of freedom that, and we've talked on this a bit, but a significant amount of freedom that comes with divorce and peace. Like we know this.
Mm-hmm.
That if I find myself alone or if I find myself with free time, I get to go, all right, what is it that I want to do
Exactly.
right
That's
now?
true.
What do I want to do? It's not always like, I mean, sometimes it is what I have to do. Sometimes it is, I've got to catch up on this work or whatever. But if that's not the case and it's a random Sunday night like this, what is it that I want to do? Like, when we finish this podcast, I'm going to go watch the Tony Awards. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And, like, what do you, I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I agree. I think it depends on where I am. So if I am in a place where I'm feeling really stressed out, I don't need to even think about my goals. I just need to organize. I just need to find myself a way to ground myself and be there.
A
temporary. But if I am in a place where I'm like, okay, I'm alone, I have time, what can I do in my studio? Like, I look for those things that I have been itching to do. I try and always have a project, an art project, something that I can go to. I have 50 started probably. Something, I can go get just go find something and pull it out that I can go spend 5 or 10 minutes or a whole afternoon on would be fabulous. So, I mean, I think it just depends on exactly where
what
you
have
are
time
in your
for and
alone
what-
time,
yeah.
you know, as to what it is you can plan to do.
Yeah.
So what are we doing this week?
What are we doing this week to create the life that you love?
Do I have anything?
You have a show.
Not this week. I mean, I'm working on 2 shows right now. But, no, I'm just kind of playing catch up. I have a lot of catch up doctor's appointments this week. Not that
Don't you have a show this
Fun.
weekend?
Mm-mm.
Next weekend, the 15th, 16th. That's not
of
one of your
July.
shows.
Of July.
Oh,
Third
look at me
Friday is
forgetting.
Friday night.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, third Friday is Friday night. That's always fun.
Well, I am catching a flight out of here.
When do
good for
when do
you.
I'm
Yeah.
going to my happy place, the lake.
Oh, fun.
So I'm excited about that. And we won't publish this before this weekend, so I can say it's a surprise party.
Woo!
So
Why don't you go ahead and acknowledge her? Tell her happy.
happy retirement to my cousin Martha, who is like my big sister that I never had, and one of my best friends in life, and very supportive. And so I'm going to my happy place, Lake Mills, Wisconsin, to Rock Lake, and I love that place. I love her. I love her husband, Mike. And so Mike and one of her daughters, Elizabeth, have cooked this up. So it'll be fun.
Yay. That was a big fix.
That's
So I'm
awesome.
excited. Happy retirement, Martha.
I don't, just like you, Lauren, I don't have a ton
I don't-
necessarily planned.
yeah.
Friday, I don't have to work on Friday, which is so fun. I'm so glad summers don't include every Friday. I have another conference, but it's in Huntsville, so it's like right there. So I don't have to go spend the night anywhere. So I
But
get
you
to
can
spend
have
my
some
days
good
over there, my
food.
evenings over here. Yeah. I'm still loving the fact that my daughter is home, that I have the one son who lives with me all the time right now anyway, but having both of them in my house just makes me happy, even though
What
it
a
is
good
much
dynamic.
it is much messier, but I do love having them both in my house. It just
That's
makes me
great.
happy. So
That is good. That's good.
that's it. All right, so are we ready to clink to a fabulous week? ladies?
Fabulous
Cheers.
week.
Happy
Keep moving
Sunday.
forward.
Let's enjoy every moment.
That's right.
in the moments.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Y'all have a wonderful week.
You too.
Thank y'all for joining us for Champagne Sunday.
See you next week,
See you
girls.
next week. Yeah, cheers.
Have a good week.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.